Hello, my name is Emily Plummer, and my topic for this presentation is worldwide illiteracy. I am a sophomore speech pathology student at Bloomsburg University with a minor in aging studies and special education. As a speech pathology student, I found this topic to be incredibly interesting. Here's a brief little overview of what's to come. I will be talking about what illiteracy means, who it affects, its global implications, as well as some ideas on how to solve the problem of worldwide illiteracy. What is illiteracy? To put it quite simply, illiteracy is the inability to read or write. Individuals that are illiterate may have some very basic skills, but it usually is not enough to be able to accomplish important life tasks. Some of these tasks include filling out job applications, understanding the labels on medication or nutrition labels, and the list goes on and on. Here are a few fast facts from the World Literacy Foundation. In developed countries, around 22% of the population is functionally illiterate. 750 million adults are illiterate, and 2/3 of them are women. 115 million youth still lack the basic digital literacy skills. In sub-Saharan Africa, only 64% of primary school teachers have the minimum required training. 1 out of 5 children between 6 and 17 years are not attending school. Literacy and education can break the cycle of poverty. These pictures are not perfect examples, but they can help illustrate what the world of an illiterate person may look like to a literate individual. You can see that they're kind of fuzzy, maybe a little recognizable, but overall just indecipherable. Who is most affected by illiteracy? Somewhere around 773 million people around the world are considered to be illiterate. Countries in sub-Saharan Africa have some of the highest illiteracy rates. To understand who is affected by illiteracy, it is important to realize that the root of the problem is poverty. Illiteracy disproportionately affects multiple groups of people. Women have made up an estimated 66% of illiterate individuals since the 90s. As far as the older population, 30% of senior women are illiterate compared to only about 19% of older men. Children living in poverty are also far more likely to be illiterate, mostly because of the lack of access to proper education. Women and girls that live in sub-Saharan Africa as well as South Asia are the most at-risk population for illiteracy. About 16 countries in Africa have literacy rates that are under 50%. In the United States, about 21% of adults are illiterate. About 22% of United States children live in poverty and are at risk for illiteracy or low functioning literacy. This may be partly due to the inability to afford books and other resources during extended school breaks like summer. Consequences of illiteracy. The effects of illiteracy are great and sort of exist as a domino effect. Illiteracy leads to less opportunities for employment, and employment options are extremely limiting, thus perpetuating the cycle of poverty. It also leads to poor health, as an illiterate person likely cannot afford proper health care. With no employment options, individuals will often turn to crime just to make ends meet. In countries like the United States, there is a higher dependence on welfare systems. Illiteracy also leads to a lack of representation. A lack of education can have a major impact on an individual's voice and can leave them open for exploitation. On a greater scale, illiteracy has some pretty serious implications. An illiterate population stunts economic growth and development. Gross domestic product is the market value of goods and services produced in a country. A heavily uneducated population is ultimately going to lead to a lower gross domestic product. Another unfortunate side effect of an illiterate population is wealth disparity. With such a large gap between the higher classes and the lower class, it is easy for the wealthy to exploit the uneducated. An example of such exploitation is offering hard and laborious work for negligible pay. Illiteracy also leads to an overall decline in life expectancy. This is in part because of overworking and inadequate options for healthcare. The root of illiteracy is and continues to be poverty. An impoverished society is far more likely to be an illiterate one, and without meaningful change, this will unfortunately continue to be true. Some solutions. There are multiple organizations working to combat illiteracy. One of these organizations is the International Literacy Association. This organization is one of the biggest and has an influence in over 75 countries. The International Literacy Association provides educational resources, trains educators in literacy education, and they are one of the biggest advocates for policies that support worldwide literacy. Literacy for Incarcerated Teens works to combat high illiteracy rates of incarcerated teenagers. Bookshare is the biggest digital library in the world. This organization offers free membership to qualifying at-risk populations. One more organization working to address the problems of illiteracy is Pro-Literacy. They provide over 200 women and girls in Niger with literacy skills and teach them in their native language. The World Literacy Foundation is an additional organization that is working to promote worldwide literacy. The solution to solving the problem of global illiteracy is deeper than just passing out books and hoping it will magically solve the problem. It is necessary to spark a joy and a desire to read within the younger population of illiterate individuals. Sometimes, standalone literacy programs are not enough to be considered effective. It can be beneficial to combine elements of literacy into other projects and community developments. When teaching literacy in developing countries, teaching in the native language has a much stronger effect. One thing that anybody can do to help combat illiteracy is to be aware. It is so important to be knowledgeable about what is going on in the world, and it is the first step to making real progress. If you feel inspired to do something about global illiteracy, here are a few additional organizations that you could support. These include Reach Out and Read, Reading is Fundamental, National Center for Families Learning, Room to Read, Books for Africa, and the Chicago Literacy Alliance. This concludes my presentation about worldwide illiteracy. Thank you.